Wagwan class, welcome back. We're now on the final chapter. Before we start, I just want to say you'll never walk alone. Liverpool is number one. Now let's move on to the class. Now we're at the final chapter, so everything is being wrapped up, and we're at one of the most important parts of the chapter, and a very eventful chapter in itself. In chapter 5, we see that Lenny has accidentally but killed Curly's wife, which is very crucial to the movement of the story. So, what I want us to look at is the setting again. It's very important that we're looking at because we know that Lenny ran away after killing Curly's wife, and we know where he's going. From the start of the novel, it's been clear that Lenny knows that if he gets in trouble, he has to meet back at the place that they first were before they made it to the ranch. So that has become a very symbolic place. A lot of the foreshadowing that we had spoken about happened already, and one of them is the foreshadowing of him killing the puppy and then him killing Curly's wife. The fact that he doesn't know how strong he is, and it's now causing the demise. Now we want to look at what that means in this place, how this is going to affect George and Lenny, and how the ranch itself is going to take these events. So let me read the summary of chapter 6 real quick. It's a short chapter. George meets up with Lenny at the clearing where he had instructed Lenny to go in the event of any trouble. Lenny is panicking. In his panicking also, he's hallucinating and seeing Aunt Clara and talking to rabbits and things like that. And George attempts to calm him down by telling him once again about their ranch. George distracts Lenny's attention and shoots him in the back of the head with Carson's Luger pistol, which he had stolen from the bunkhouse. Right? So now that we know that he has died, we realize that this place that they go to, where they took rest, where they got water, where they got sustenance, has now become a place of death. It has become a place that has represented the end of things. So as a setting, what it represents becomes more important overall rather than where it is on a map. And that is why we have to look on the setting and the effect on the setting, the effect of the setting on the characters and on themes, right? Because here we are now, back at the pond, well, the brush, wherever they had said they're going to meet up. And this is supposed to be a safe haven. It's supposed to be a place where Lenny can feel comfortable and safe. But unfortunately, this is where George has to make the sad decision to end Lenny's life. Because what George realizes is no matter where they go, no matter what setting they are in, Lenny is still going to make this mistake. Lenny is at the point where he seems that he can't change. He's not a little child that they're trying to teach anything. He's a grown man with a problem. And that's why he's hallucinating. He's thinking he's somewhere else. He's thinking he's talking to people. And while hallucinating, Rabbit is telling him that he's crazy. And that is how people will always see. So George has to make that decision where he has to end Lenny's life. And it's a very sad moment. As usual, we're going to go over some quotes. The first one, I want to read the description of the Salinas River. The deep green pool of the Salinas River was still in the late afternoon, so it wasn't even moving. Already the sun had left the valley to go climbing up the slopes of the Gabilan Mountains, and the hilltops were rosy in the sun. But by the pool, among the mottled sycamores, a pleasant shade had fallen. A water snake glided smoothly up the pool, twisting its periscope head from side to side, and it swam the length of the pool and came to the legs of a motionless heron that stood in the shallows. A silent head and beak lanced down and plucked it out by the head, and the beak swallowed the little snake while its tail waved frantically. A far rush of wind sounded, and a gust drove through the tops of the trees like a wave. The sycamore leaves turned up their silver sides. The brown, dry leaves on the ground scudded a few feet, and row of tiny wind waves flowed up the pool's green surface. As quickly as it had come, the wind died, and the clearing was quiet again. The heron stood in the shadows, motionless and waiting. Now, what we find about this description that is really interesting isn't just speaking about where they are and how things look. It's kind of talking about the mood and the atmosphere of where he is. It speaks about the mood and the atmosphere. So what we're getting at is not just where Lenny is, but how Lenny is supposed to feel while being in this place. And how we, the reader, are supposed to feel, because we're anxious, we're nervous, we don't know what's going to happen next. Because what he's done before is minimal compared to this. He's killed a mouse, he killed a dog, he pulled a girl's dress, but he's literally killed a white woman. And we know that Curly wants to hang him, wants to basically torture him. So where he is makes a difference. You understand? In the next class, we'll talk about who he is and what effect that has as a character. But we'll have to look at the setting and see that this place takes on a whole different feeling than it did when they were first there. When they were first there, it was a sign of something new to come. You understand? No, it feels like the ending of something. And what is about to end is Lenny's life, the dream that they all had. You understand? And it really breaks George's heart that he has to do it, but he realizes that he has no other choice. And we're seeing that from even just the setting. And the sycamore leaves turned up their silver sides. The brown, dry leaves on the ground scudded a few feet, and row on row of tiny wind waves flowed up the pool's green surface. So it's also building tension. The writer is trying to get us to be a little bit tense because he knows what's about to happen. Now, George and Lenny are speaking, and listen to this. Lenny looked eagerly at him. Go on, George. Ain't you going to give me no more hell? No, said George. Well, I can go away. I'll get right off the hills and find a cave if you don't want me. So what we're looking at how the setting has an effect on their relationship. You know, Lenny speaks of himself like he's a monster, like he's an animal. He says, I'll just go find a cave. You know what I mean? So we're able to see that Lenny views himself as this evil monster that has done something wrong. Right? And that's why he says, I'll go find a cave if you don't want me, because this is what he expects. Now, Lenny turned his head and looked off across the pool and up the darkening slopes of the Gabilan. We're going to get a little place, George began. He reached in the side of his pocket and brought out Carl's Luger. So what he's doing, and this is where setting works, Lenny is looking off into that distance. And what he's doing, he's giving Lenny a chance to visualize a place where he's happy before he kills Lenny. This is why the idea of setting and place becomes important, because the only thing that can make Lenny happy right now is to see the place of his dreams. So he has to tell this story one more time to give Lenny a chance to visualize a place that makes him happy as a way to distract him before he does what he's about to do. And it's funny because while he's speaking about somewhere that is full of hope, somewhere that is bright, Lenny is actually looking off at the darkening slopes. He's looking off at the sun that's about to set. He's looking off at the day that's about to be done, which is using the setting to kind of foreshadow or to kind of symbolize what is about to be happening, which is the dream that they're having is about to get dark. The life that they're having is about to get dark, and Lenny's lights are about to go out. And that is what this novel is really going at. It's the death of the dream. And what the author is doing is showing how their actual location is symbolizing the death of that dream. Look at how he also personifies where they are, where he says, the brush seemed filled with cries, and with the sound of running feet, Slim's voice shouted, George, where are you at, George? So really, the people are running through, but he's not saying that he can, that he's hearing people. He's speaking about the fact that it's the brush that seems to be making these noises. It's almost as if after Lenny died, the nature itself is speaking to him. Right? And that is the actual last quote that we're going to use, because I kind of don't want to go any deeper into, because I want us to look into the characters and the themes some more. But what we're seeing is that where they are symbolizes what's happening. It socializes them a certain way, it causes certain things, and even just actual location speaks to them differently. When we go into characters, we kind of look on how these characters have shaped each other's lives, and probably look on also how social class is brought forward with these characters. All right, please read the book. I didn't give a quiz last week because you're going to all get the quiz this week, one final quiz, now that we're at the end of the book. So, all right, so please finish up chapter 6. Next class with the characters as usual, and then with the themes. Big up yourself. You'll never walk alone.